Today's video is one of those stupid ideas I have after a severe brain injury, and I don't know if it's gonna work. But if it does, it should lead to some properly terrible gaming. But before we get into that, today's video is sponsored by the Corsair Shift series of power supplies. I really had to concentrate to not say Swift there for some reason. What Corsair did with the Shift series was move the standard modular power supply connectors to the side of the power supply, so it more evenly uses your case basement. And as I found out in my previous video, it works great. It really clears up your case's stuffing cavities. So if this sounds good to you, check out the Corsair Shift series of power supplies using the link in the description below. Thank you, Corsair, for sponsoring today's video. Oh. Now, not meaning to throw shade here, but I do feel like this is a bit of a brave way to ship something like a NAS. I don't know if that feels like reasonable play for packaging. Now, the terrible idea behind today's video is I'm gonna try and game on this NAS. And by that, I don't mean using a NAS as external storage. I'm actually gonna try and install Windows on this NAS and use the hardware in it to run some games, which should be spectacularly bad. Oh, the camera's falling over, isn't it? Now, I'm not 100% sure this is actually gonna work, but I did do a very brief Google on the subject, and apparently all you need is a NAS that has a video out, which is surprisingly rare, but which luckily this store has. Other than that, I don't know why it wouldn't work, because this NAS does have hardware in it that should support Windows. Not very well, granted, but that doesn't matter. It should support it. So let's open it up and have a closer look at the store. Now, in case it hasn't been clear up until this point, I don't know a lot about network storage. It's less an interest of mine and more a keyword in 50% of my nightmares. But I'm a bit of an expert when it comes to installing Windows on crappy hardware and then having a terrible gaming experience, so this should work out. I'm confident. Ooh, now this Easter, which was very kindly sent over by Micro Center, in fact. Micro Center plug. Micro Center is your one-stop shop for PCs and the shopping thereof. And they're opening a new store in Indianapolis, which is apparently a city in the US. Check out Monitor Madness with the link below. Let's see what kind of accessories a NAS comes with. There's an external power brick. Ooh, 90 watts. So this is a serious performance NAS. I guess. I don't know what kind of power draw NASs normally have. And then we also get a power cable. We also get a LAN cable. Oh, it's kind of a losery Cat 5 cable. Ugh. And then we also get a manual on how to upgrade the memory in this NAS, which could be very useful for our use case. We may have to do that at some point. And then finally, we get a quick installation guide. What does it say about installing Windows on it? Okay, it in fact does not say anything about using this as a Windows device. Cool. Ooh, there is our very inspiring looking plastic box. We do have a fan on the back, which kind of cools the hard drives and stuff in here. We have our 2 Ethernet ports on the back with our very important HDMI port. This is the whole reason we may potentially be able to game on this thing. And then we have 2 USB 2 ports. So at least we have bare minimum gaming I/O. It's a good start. And other than that, there's very little to say about it. So let's open it up and have a closer look inside. Okay, that did not go as expected. Because I don't want to touch it because it's piano black plastic, which, as everyone knows, is the classiest material. That is a very easy way to get access to it, and you can see that here we have our hot swappable hard drive bays. So you open it like that. Ooh, they really sit in there. Next, I'm just gonna undo these screws on the back and see what happens. and then it should just slide off. I think I have to remove all of the cages first. Yes, there we go. There we go. So in here you can see our RAM slots. It comes with a single 4 gig stick, and as we all know, single channel RAM is the best for gaming performance. But it's nice that we can we can upgrade that a bit later on. And then in here we have our heatsink with, I'm assuming, the CPU under there. And this kind of top caddy bit actually seems quite easy to remove. So let's remove it and have a closer look at what's going on under here. Cool, so we've undone all 8 million screws. So now hopefully we can just kind of lift this bit off. Yes, we can. And it was pretty easy to remove because this daughter board with all of the hot swappable hard drive connectors connects to the main motherboard with what looks like a 4x PCIe connector. So it means that it just slots right out. And then down on the motherboard, we have the 4x PCIe slot. Now, I was thinking of trying to connect a graphics card to that slot for some proper NAS gaming. The problem is that's the only way to connect storage to this motherboard, and the microscopic 4 gigs of internal eMMC storage isn't close to enough for a Windows install. But yeah, that is a closer look at the hardware that we're going to use for gaming. And as you can tell by the kind of heat sinks and power delivery that we have around here, it looks like the kind of thing that would give a 4090 night terrors. So I'm sure the gaming will be spectacular. With that, let's reassemble it, drop an SSD in here, and see if we can install Windows on it. Do I like press buttons? Apparently blindly smashing delete wasn't the play, because with this NAS you use escape to get into the BIOS. Yes, we've got a video out. Okay, very good. This is the very DOSy looking BIOS of the old store. But I'm gonna quickly see what happens when I try and boot off the Windows that's installed on the SSD, just out of curiosity. Was it that easy? Just plug a hard drive that has Windows on it in there and you're good to go. It seems like that's all that needs to happen here. Would you look at that? It's just worked. And after being impressed with the power we now easily have available, ooh, it was time to see how it handles some gaming. No way! GTA 5 at 1080p is actually running on the NAS. Okay, running may be a bit of a strong word, but it's a NAS. Interestingly, the color output of this NAS is horribly oversaturated. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it looks pretty rough. It was the same thing in Windows and the BIOS. Now that the excitement of it just launching has passed, this is some properly terrible gaming performance. Although again, as is usually the case with 9-ish frames per second while gaming, is we do have pretty good frame pacing. Ooh, it is a real eyesore, the way in which this is refreshing. This is not, oh, this is not great. Yeah, this is pretty seasick inducing. Let's drop the resolution to 720p. Wow, that's a lot better. We've almost doubled our frame rate, which shows that we don't quite have a CPU bottleneck here, which is pretty cool. That's unexpected for one of these low-end Celerons. But the RAM configuration is horrendous. So we may be able to get even more performance than this immaculate showing once we upgrade the RAM. At 800 by 400, Oh, actually, never mind. That worked out pretty well. Anyway, whenever there's something reasonable happening on screen, we dip down to about 14 frames per second. So 800 by 400's not helped much. It's always lovely to see menus struggling. That's when you know this is getting me off. This is exactly what I'm looking for when it comes to bad gaming. The combination of the drops to like 6 frames per second and the weird color output makes this some pretty good bad gaming. Although, honestly, it's not quite as terrible as I was expecting it to be. This is still relatively usable. Like, I took a bot down there. There's another bot here. I'm not sure what was happening there. I was clicking like crazy, but no shooting happened for some reason. Okay, so at 720p, we're getting a decently better frame rate, although there's still quite a bit of input lag, and it's still not running well. I think it's safe to say that I found this system on which Dota is not playable. Maybe with a bit more RAM, we'll get something that approaches playability, because this is not that. It really isn't. But let's try a game that may run on it. Ooh, that feels very weird. Lots of input lag, although promisingly, we do have quite low CPU utilization, which I guess is because it's a quad core, but that means that if we drop it down from 1080p, we should get a better frame rate. Wow, we've actually got a game approaching playability. This is at 720p and the game is older than time itself, but still, you can game on a NAS, apparently. It does cost $460 from Micro Center, and for that price, I'd hope you can get a hell of a lot more PCs, so I wouldn't recommend going out and buying a NAS for gaming, but, you know, if you already happen to own a NAS with an HDMI port, you can game on it. No way. Okay, there has to be like VSync on or something, right? That's the only explanation at this point. Yeah, VSync's on. Okay, that explains it. It's still not great though. Oh, let me... Oh! Why is my clicking not... What is happening? And after my very reasonable response to not being able to click, I realized that for some reason I couldn't both move and attack at the same time. So when I stand still, I can consistently attack. But the moment that I move around, I can't attack anymore. So I need to walk up, stand still, and then fight them. That's the... Even if I'm not pressing move, but the inertia is still carrying me, like this, look. Clicks still don't register, what? That is very weird. So with Half-Life 2, not only are we getting about 50 frames per second out in the wild, we also can't click and move at the same time, except for every now and then randomly for some reason. Which was a great point to try and upgrade the RAM.
A few moments later.
Oh no, the NAS isn't happy with the RAM upgrade. And after a whole bunch of fingering in various RAM configurations, the best I could get working was adding an additional 8GB on top of the 4GB that was already in there. The dual channel 16GB kit just refused to work. But I guess 12GB is much better than 4, even if it's not technically in dual channel. Okay, so with GTA 5 at 1080p, it has made basically no difference. Again, with CSGO, we continue the trend of it not helping. Oh, I can't shoot! It's doing the thing. When I stand still, I can shoot, but I can't when I move. Oh yes, check it, damn graphics. It's still not playable, but it is significantly better than it was before. It clearly just wanted some extra RAM, but the improvement didn't last long. Okay, very good. That didn't last very long. What the hell? Wow, Half-Life has benefited a huge amount. We now have over 100 frames per second. The game looks good, it feels good. We still have the movement bug though. I have to wait for him to come down the stairs because I can't shoot while I'm moving. So at the end of the day, weird niggles aside, I guess you can kind of game on a NAS, which is very impressive. Until you realize that this NAS cost about $500 and for that amount, surely you can buy a gaming PC that'll let you both attack and move at the same time. On that note, for next week's video, I built a gaming PC using Amazon for less than what this NAS cost. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see that madness, and until the next video, bye-bye.